Daniel Ricciardo and Jacques Villeneuve are not too fond of each other, and that was made pretty clear this past weekend at the Canadian Grand Prix. Guys, welcome back to Racing Direct. I'm, of course, Kyle, and today I really wanted to dive into the back and forth that's going on between Jacques Villeneuve and Daniel Ricciardo. Because Villeneuve, of course, the 1997 world champion, made some pretty interesting comments that were aimed towards the Australian and his current driving performances, stating that he really does not belong in Formula 1 anymore. Obviously, did not sit well with Ricciardo. And today we're going to analyze who's in the right, what's going to happen next, and if this is actually going to boil over into anything more serious. So, of course, I remind you to hit subscribe, leave your comments, likes, and shares. Let's jump right into it. Now, first and foremost, I should point out I do have Jacques' 1997 World Championship winning Williams sitting right beside me. I'm not impartial here. It's, I am Canadian. He is the only Canadian Drivers' World Champion, so there we go. But obviously, I'm taking a non-biased approach on this topic. Now look, we all know that Jacques is not afraid to speak his mind and share his opinion. Now, I'm kind of 50-50 on what he says. I think sometimes he's little bit crazy, and at other times I think he's bang on. Either way though, he's extremely controversial. He doesn't really seem to care, and I do always appreciate that. Someone that just doesn't really care what others think and is not afraid to say exactly what they believe in. But in this occasion, he went on the Sky Sports main broadcast and told the entire world exactly how he feels about Daniel Ricciardo and his current position in VCARB and Formula 1. And Jacques was pretty clear when he stated that he does not feel that Ricciardo's performances deserve to be in Formula 1, and he stated that the only reason he's still in the grid is because of his image, saying that he's basically just a rolling marketing tool. Now look, obviously those comments did not go over well with Daniel Ricciardo. He basically told Villeneuve that he is talking a lot of crap. He doesn't really pay attention to anything he says anymore. He's not the first driver to say that he doesn't really care for anything Villeneuve has to say, but at this occasion, Villeneuve might actually have a point, and here is why. Look, at the end of the day, Ricciardo is a very marketable figure. A lot of people like him. He's got a great personality. It's kind of hard to dislike Daniel Ricciardo. However, you do have to look at those on-track performances. They just aren't really as good as what they used to be, and he's constantly being outperformed by his teammates. Look, his time at McLaren was just not good. There's no easy way of putting it. He was constantly being outperformed by Lando Norris. Yes, you can say he got their only victory in quite some time before Norris obviously won in Miami this year. However, that didn't really outweigh all the negatives. He just really couldn't seem to figure that car out. I myself, along with many others, were really pulling for him and hoping he was going to get it sorted out. It just never really worked out for him in the orange papaya McLaren though. Then he makes that amazing comeback to VCARB, and everyone's starting to think maybe he can figure it out. But this season, it's been pretty obvious. Yuki Tsunoda has been outperforming him pretty much every single occasion. The only time prior to Montreal Ricciardo scored any points this season was in the sprint race in Miami, meaning that he had 0 points in actual Grand Prix, which is pretty damn scary. It didn't even start off very good in the first race of the season. We all remember that Tsunoda was told to move over and allow Ricciardo through. Clearly, they were trying to assert Ricciardo as the number one, potentially at the start of the season, that is obviously not the case, and Tsunoda obviously completely lost his mind on that cool-down lap back in Bahrain. Now that things have sort of leveled out, we see where the drivers are. It's so obvious that Tsunoda is so much further ahead of Ricciardo on pace at the moment. Yes, Ricciardo did have a good showing in Montreal and actually managed to score points in a Grand Prix, so kudos to him. And he had an awesome P5 in qualifying. He sort of had to do that, though, after hearing Villeneuve's comments. There's no way he could follow that interview with Villeneuve on Sky Sports and not have a good weekend. So shout out to Ricciardo for having a good showing in Montreal. But again, he really has to build off of this and prove to everybody that he does deserve to stay, and that wasn't just an outlier. Look, we all know there's a great driver in Daniel Ricciardo. Nobody's ever going to question that. I mean, you don't win 8 Grand Prix and score, I believe he has over 30 podiums now. That doesn't just come by accident. He's obviously a very fast driver. There's tons of skill in there, but for whatever reason, things just aren't gelling for him. Maybe his best days are behind him. He's clearly not at his peak anymore. But there is still a chance that you could get that skill and ability out from underneath him. Maybe it's his psyche that's sort of affecting him. I'm not really sure. I do still feel that he has some good performances within him. However, is it going to be too little too late? Look, there are many young drivers waiting in the wing within the Red Bull Academy. Of course, first in line is their current reserve driver, Liam Lawson. Many people actually thought that he was going to get Ricciardo's seat this season, but VCARB decided to stick with the veteran Ricciardo to pair with Tsunoda. Now that we know that Tsunoda is re-signing with VCARB for next season, though, that puts so much more pressure on Ricciardo, knowing there's only one available seat within that team. He has to put in some good performances, and right now, I just don't think he's cutting it. I think that's sort of why Villeneuve made these comments and was pointing out that, yes, maybe his best days are behind him, and potentially he will have to move over for a younger driver. So in this case, Well, I said I'm sort of 50-50 with Jacques' opinion on different basis. I do believe that he is sort of correct on this front. And I don't think it's anything super malicious. Obviously, Ricciardo did not appreciate hearing it. I don't blame him. But I do kind of see where Villeneuve was coming from, saying that, like, look, there's so many young drivers waiting in the wing here. And if Ricciardo is not stepping it up and not proving his worth anymore, then what really is the sense of keeping him around except for marketing exercises? Now, look, again, I know Ricciardo has a very passionate fan base and some people might not like to hear this opinion, but this is just how I feel on the situation. I really do think if he doesn't improve these results, he is going to get bounced out of that team for a younger and less experienced driver who V-Carb and Red Bull believes has more potential and a higher ceiling that can deliver better results than Ricciardo at the present time. Again, I'm pulling for this guy. I really want to see him succeed, but those good results have to happen much sooner rather than later if he wants to hang on to that Formula One grid spot. I mean, like, if you go back in time, and I know hindsight is 2020, I think we can all agree that that move away from Red Bull to Renault, I think it was 2018 now, that was ultimately probably the worst decision Ricciardo could have made in his career. He took a big risk and a huge chance doing that. Obviously, it didn't pay off. We all know why he did it. He wanted to be a #1 driver. Obviously, he was not appreciating the treatment he was getting behind Max Verstappen at the time within the team. We know why he did it, but again, in hindsight, it just wasn't the right move. He should have just toughed it out there and stuck with Red Bull. Who knows where he would be in his career right now if that move to Red Bull didn't happen, and then obviously it went to McLaren and went further downhill from there. Just never really seemed like he bounced back from that, in my opinion. Now, look, I know Ricciardo said he doesn't really pay too much attention to Villeneuve and what he says, but Villeneuve's comments were everywhere in the media in Montreal, especially considering that it was the Canadian World Champion at the Canadian Grand Prix saying it. It definitely got a lot more buzz in the local media as well, and that put so much attention and a spotlight on Ricciardo, so it's kind of hard for him to just ignore it and block it out when it's just everywhere around you. And yes, I'm pretty happy and pretty pumped for this guy that he did put in a good performance, and yes, it does need to happen more often, but we'll actually have to see if this can change going forward, if Ricciardo can really adapt his driving styles and get back to the old Daniel that we've known for previous years. I don't really think this is the last we've heard from either of these guys on this topic. I do believe this exchange could go back and forth a little bit more. We did see Villeneuve as well say that Ricciardo probably took those comments a little too personally and Villeneuve was just making observations. I think it was generally a personal comment, though. I'm not really going to back that one up. I do believe that Villeneuve was pretty clear and direct with exactly how he felt about Daniel Ricciardo and his position on the grid. So yes, I don't think we've seen the last of this little rift between the 1997 world champion and Daniel Ricciardo. So it should be interesting to see what happens in the future and if Ricciardo can answer the call and deliver some more results for V-Carb. But guys, let me know what you think. Do you believe that Villeneuve is in the right for these comments? Do you think it was just another one of his loud explosions that shouldn't really be entertained at all? Give me your thoughts down below. I want to know what you feel about Ricciardo's season so far as well, if he can really turn this around, start putting in some better performances, and ultimately keep a spot on the grid going forward in 2025. Drop those comments down below. Of course, remind you to hit subscribe and like the videos. Really appreciate everybody. We'll see you next time on Racing Direct.